GM. GM. Trade of the day. GM. All right, let's look in here. I think it's really simple. I do think Bitcoin will go higher from here. So obviously they're the paths that I'd marked out on the higher time frame. I want to look on lower time frame though. And we've obviously got that pivot at 58.3, wherever it was for the OKX chart. Let's go all the way back here. There we go. And we've got price reclaiming the 50 EMA on the 4 hour. And I think that as price attempts to close these bands, as you can see here, whenever it's in a strong downtrend, it tries to make its way through them, right? You can see this in every trend whenever price goes into a strong downtrend, right? Touched the 50, rejected it, went all the way through the bands, held them, pushed up, went to the 100, came back, pushed up, through them all the way through. And each time it starts to push and push and push. What do you see? The bands get closer and closer and closer together. That's how the downtrend ends, and we start to move to a sideways phase before an uptrend. So I think Bitcoin is at least going to try to narrow those bands, right, and to push them together. And if you look at the 4 hour trend so far, since it flipped bearish, we've seen the 50 acting as touches that go to new lows. So if you're a trend trader, you short the 50, new low. You short the 50, new low. You short the 100, new low. So in each stage now, prices had to go to the 50, and then the 100. So that indicates that the trend has to pull back further to gather enough energy, to grab enough liquidity, to then go to a new low. So I would say the 50 not holding makes complete sense. There's no reason why that 50 would hold as rejection, because it already has shown that it won't hold. So the 100, again, I think it's going to get tested. The 100's either going to hold, and it's going to look a bit like it did up there, and down we go, or we're going to make our way through to probably the 200. Now from there, I do fully expect a rejection all the way back down, and then if it's going to be starting to get bullish, we look at something like that, right? And you'll see the bands then coming towards each other so that they can eventually cross, and eventually price gets back above them, and that's how you get bullish again, right? So you know that, that's how this trend will end and move to the next one. But what does that mean for lower time frames? Well, it means Bitcoin should be able to make its way through to the 200, right? However, I'm not confident that Bitcoin will go straight there, as I talked about on daily levels. With these, hitting each of these order blocks, you do see a sell-off, you'll see price chop around, it'll come back up, it'll squeeze people out, it'll slowly get there, and it'll chop and chop and chop, and then there we go, and we hit it, right? Like, I think that's more the kind of price action that's setting up here for Bitcoin. I don't think it's necessarily going to go there in one candle. If it goes there in one candle, in one push, I think that will be tomorrow with CPI. With the absence of a major catalyst, price is not just going to fly to 62. Like, a lot of you're living in fantasy land if you think that price can just do this. It's so hard to move price. The only reason it was able to move fast down through these levels is because we had heavy selling and mass liquidations. There is not heavy buying and mass short liquidations, right? There could be, and this is the point, if CPI comes in with a number that bulls are favorable of, and you start to see an initial spike of buying, that can then touch off a bunch of stops and push it up really fast, right? And what will probably happen in that case is we retrace it all, but the trade is still a good trade. So I don't see today, as in trade of the day, I don't see us going there today. And if that's the case, then I would like to see this. So this is exactly what I'm looking for. Next, I would like to see us go below the pivot and below that band and then reclaim it. And if we do that, then I'll probably get long. And I'll get long targeting this area here. And of course, it might go straight there. It might not. It doesn't really matter to me. I want to see us try to go lower and fail, come back inside and hold and get above that pivot, and then I'll get long. Alternatively, I would wait for the 100 and then just try and trade between the 100 and 200. Meaning, if we push up into the 100, it's able to get through the 100, I would trade it towards the 200 in that little part there. But that's what I'm waiting for. I'll put in the trading analysis, keep an eye on trading analysis, or keep an eye on the day trader or swing trader channels if you're a blue belt or above. That's where I'll talk about the exact trade, but I will mention if and when I take it. It's not like there's any, great glaring setups for me, for my systems. It's a very choppy type of market. It's bouncing up, and every time it goes low, it's worth buying. Every time it goes high, it's worth selling, and it's just this mean reverting market. And since we're up, right, this is the thing, like, if we were down here and there was a setup, yeah, get long. But don't forget that in a mean reverting market, when it goes low to high, people sell. To low, they buy. To high, they sell. This is exactly where people should be selling. It can go all the way back down here and still just be doing the same thing. So you can't jump the gun with these type of moves. This is a very inefficient move up, right? Price just sort of grinded and grinded and grinded and grinded, and then one blast off, pops off, takes out these stops, and it's probably just going to fall all the way back down. So if it fills in that inefficiency, right? If Bitcoin, which it's doing, you can see how many times we've seen this. I've showed you this on all time frames. Pumps up, right? Pumps up, and then it just stair steps back down. And so it stair steps back down into the gap. It holds, comes back above. That is where price gets interesting. So if it comes back down into those lows, then it's interesting to see inefficiency filled, move back up. And then we'll see what's happening next. GM.